In this video, I'm playing Backgammon versus the Bot with Michele Reid. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below and what you'd like to see in future videos so I can work on that. My book, Backgammon, Backgame Strategies, is available. There's a link in the description to where you can get it. And if you're interested in lessons, please contact me via email. In this video, it's my pleasure to have my guest, Michele Reid. Thank you for joining me and welcome.
Thank you.
My pleasure. You found me through the women of backgammon. So I'm really happy to have you. One of my goals is to get more women in backgammon. So I'm excited that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, ready to get started.
Yeah. And you're joining us from what city?
Perry, Georgia.
Perry, Georgia. And you said that's about an hour outside of Atlanta.
About an hour and a half, close to 2 hours. I'm actually just south of Macon.
Okay. Very
Yeah.
good. And you've been playing backgammon for about 5, 10 years or so?
Yeah, ish. So I wasn't serious about it before, but as of last year, I decided to get serious about it.
Okay, yeah. It's something really fun. I tell people the most important thing is to have fun, and that's what we want to do, and also educational. So we'll learn. I'll go ahead and share the screen now.
Okay.
There we go. Are you able to see the board now?
I am.
Okay, very good. So we're going to play a 3-point match against XG. We're playing on a beautiful Backgammon Galaxy Earth board with the purple, I believe it's the Nebula inlay, and you're playing the red checkers at the bottom, XG, the white checkers at the top. These boards, the skins are made by Rain. He does outstanding quality skins, and if you're interested, there's a link in the description. So you just let me know how you want to play, and you're welcome to consult, and we'll go ahead and get started. You have a 5-2 to start, and it's a 3-point match.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. I can't click on anything.
I will click. You just let me know what you want to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
13, 8,
Mm-hmm.
and 13 to 11.
Okay, very good. And then sometimes I'll ask you questions because this helps the viewers learn. What are the other options that you would consider?
Uh, 13, 8, and then drop down from my backside from 24 to 22
Okay, and then why do you like this one better?
because I'm trying to build up 10 checkers or more in my in and outside of my home board side.
Okay, good. So this 6-3 runs, and now I'll assume you want to roll for the obvious ones, but if you want to wait and you want to double, just let me know.
Okay.
So double 3, that's a good roll.
Drop down. Let's see. Yeah, drop and hit 13 to 10 twice. No, wait a minute.
No?
24 to 21 twice. And 8 to 5 twice. No, yeah, leaving.
You like this one?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the right one.
When one of the things I learned is when you roll a double, there are usually many more reasonable options than when you roll a non-double. So
Okay.
it's always important to pause. One time, John O'Hagan told me, take a deep breath, look at the entire board, and think about it for a little bit more. So basically, oftentimes the doublets are played in pairs. So you play two of them, like two like this, or two like this, or two like this. But sometimes you can play one. So let's look at all of the options, and then we'll kind of narrow things down and we'll look at the priorities. One option is, of course, to hit with one of them, right? And that's always good because you knock a checker back, you bring more into the zone. It has a lot going for it. There are other things that you can do, like make a point, like making the 5-point. That's really strong because that's a good point. You can also make the 3-point. It does make a deeper point, but it unstacks the heavier 6-point. And you could also play up. like this and make a nice anchor. So you can do a combination of lots of different things. If you do end up hitting, you'll only have three more left, so you'll have to have one odd. So you'll be able to make 1 point and then something else. But what do you think are the biggest priorities here in terms of your game plan and White's game plan?
Okay, I think the priority would be to make my 5 point because that's
Okay.
the strongest point in my home board. Um, hit
Hit
13 to 10, and then bring the 11 up to the 8.
11 up to 8. Yeah,
That's 4, right?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
four of them. The other thing that I would consider is I certainly think that hitting is the number one thing because obviously in the opening of the game both players have two back checkers. This is something like kind of we talked about, right? In the Women of Backgammon seminar and second rolls.
Mhm.
So this one's already partially escaped. You don't want to let that checker escape all the way. So this would be like the first thing I do. And then making the 5 point is really solid. Uh,
Okay.
and now you have a pretty big racing lead and you have a lot of offensive power. Uh, I might consider just splitting to have something working on both sides of the board. So this is a lot to think about. We'll look at the analysis afterwards, but since you're the guest, as I mentioned, you have the ultimate decision. So what would you like to do out of all those options?
Okay. Hit, since you said that's the most important to keep him from getting an advantage, hit and then make my 5 point twice and then split my back checkers.
Okay, we'll see. I tell people sometimes I'm wrong, but we'll see the analysis.
Okay. Well, just, split the back checkers just to get them started.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, now 5-1. So that turned out well.
Mhm.
So would you like to roll or double?
Roll.
Okay. One of the things I learned, I believe, by Kit Woolsey is every turn is a doubling decision.
Okay.
So it's always important to at least look. I know you looked at it,
I
but
did.
when you're looking at the position, uh, when I'm looking at the position, what I look at is kind of like everything on the board. So what do we have? What does the opponent have? What are the strengths and weaknesses? First of all, we can see the race here. We're ahead by 14 pips. That's a pretty sizable racing lead. It's almost 10% of our baseline pip count. The second thing is we have the 5 point, right? So that's a 2 point board versus a 1 point board. Anytime you have a stronger board than your opponent, you're going to be a favorite in a potential hitting exchange. So that's another thing. The third thing is there's a lot of offensive power here in the zone. So we can attack. We might be able to make the bar point, maybe the 4 point, maybe even the 9 point. So that's a lot of potential to make an even stronger board or a stronger offensive prime or something like that. Additionally, when you have two checkers back, it's much easier to either get them to escape or create an advanced anchor when they're split. So we have that advantage there. I believe that and also the score. So at three away, you
Mhm.
want to double a little bit more aggressively and take a little bit more cautiously because doubled win will get you to the Crawford game. All of that taken into consideration, I think it's not quite a double, but we may be getting close. But it's always good to think about these things.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm still in a learning phase. I'm a novice, hoping to get to intermediate one day. So, yeah, that's why I play online a lot. So,
Yeah.
in saying that, yeah, the pip count is in my favor. The board is actually in my favor. So, I'll take a chance and double.
You want to try double? I think this is good. I like to have players at all levels because then there's like learning opportunities for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll double and then at the end we'll see what the analysis says.
Okay.
So take. Okay, so now a 2-1.
Mhm.
What are the choices you see here?
Well, let's start with my backboard. I have the choice of making an anchor on 21, or let's see, I have the option of 11 to 9, 10 to 9. I think that's a more well. I'm not going to say more effective, but I think that has a little solidity from slowing my opponent's back checkers down.
Right, right. I think, when you're looking at two options, you want to look at the pros and cons, of course. So the pros here is you have a broken four prime. If you just fill in this, you'll have a five prime.
Right,
Additionally, if white splits to like the 3 point or white's 22 point, it's blocked by sixes. So this does have a lot going for it. Now, you can make this anchor, and that prevents you from being attacked more easily. Uh,
right,
so when you're considering that, you want to think about you want to look at how many checkers there are in the zone. With 9 checkers in the zone, and none of them are diversified, meaning that they're all on the 6 point and the 8 point, the 2 points they started with. There's
right,
not, for example, there's not one on the 9 point, which will give them more rolls. So there's not a lot of flexibility. There's not too much that you have to worry about. And in addition, the fact that these two checkers are not split, if white were going to attack, the white may have a problem with these back checkers.
right.
Additionally, when you do this, it does give white rolls like 6-3, six
Mhm.
four, and double three to come out and hit, gain a whole bunch in the race,
Yeah,
especially when they're big numbers, and you get a third checker back. So yeah, I think I agree with this, and that's kind of like my reasoning.
and that was my first mind.
Yeah, good. Okay. All right, 6-4. See?
Ooh, thank God.
All right. So now we've already doubled. We have to roll.
Mhm.
Okay, 4-1.
Make his 5 point.
Yeah, great. Now, one of the things some people say when you own both 5 points,
Mhm.
it's oftentimes a double or at least close to a double.
Right.
We've already doubled, but that's something that's good to know. That's usually a very strong position.
Okay. That's what I've been told.
Yeah. So
Okay.
3-1, we're safe. So now we're ahead by 8 pips. We're going to want to kind of bring things home, hopefully.
Where did you just move? What did you just move? You had a 3-1. I seen you move 1, 2, 3 from
So
1922.
so I'm not moving, the checkers XG does it, but it was a 3-1. It was played from 11 to 12 or
Oh,
14
okay.
to 13, and the 3 was played here.
Got you.
Um, so now there's a 5-1 to play.
Hmm. I don't want to break my back checkers. That's security right there for now. Da, 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 da. I could hit White's back checker and drop down from 6 to 5 to even it out, unstack it a little bit.
That's good. Did you see, I know you were at the women in backgammon seminar that I did on second rules. Did you see the one that John O'Hagan did about a month ago on safe versus bold?
No, I didn't.
So he talked about, and it was really good. When you get a chance, I'd recommend it. I'd recommend it to the viewers. He talked about, when you want to play safe and when you want to play bold,
Mhm.
and there are a lot of criteria.
Okay.
So, for example, if you're ahead in the race, you want to maintain that racing lead. So that argues for a safe play. Um, if you have more checkers back, you want to do a bolder play. So that's kind of contradictory. If you have a stronger board, you can make a bold play. And also white has a blot in the board.
Right.
Uh, so here, despite the fact that we have two checkers back and white has one,
Mhm.
we're still ahead by, well, 15 pips after, but 8 pips before, and without hitting, it'll be 14 pips. So
Okay.
really want to bring things home and don't want to kind of leave the opportunity to get hit, despite the
Yeah.
fact that there's a board. I think the unstacking is certainly good, and I think this is certainly reasonable. But the other one I would consider is something like this, and the reason for that is because you see here, white can hit with a 3, right? What about here?
He
It's
can hit
another
with a
3,
1, 1 or 3.
1 or 3, and then this is another 3. So the
Mm-hmm.
threes are all duplicated or even triplicated. So it's not as dangerous as one may think to split because you're duplicating the threes. That means if white hits with a three, it's going to be harder to cover because you can only cover with a three or a five, right? So that's not as dangerous. Um, but I think this is reasonable. We can see what the analysis says.
Okay.
Okay. So now 5-2. Okay, so now we're still up by 8 pips.
Lucky on that
5-2 for us.
one. Okay. Let's do 20 to 15 and then to 13.
20 to 13. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. The other option would be to do this, but that's
That was,
really,
you know what? That was actually my first mind. But since I'm ahead in the pip count, I thought about trying to get one out of there to bring it home.
yeah, yeah, I think that's good. We'll see what the analysis shows.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we would have been hit there. So
Yes,
now
sir.
we're up by 6.
Mm-hmm.
Double one. Okay. So not a
We
great
can't
roll.
do
We
nothing
can't
with
move.
this backboard. Nope.
No, we can't
And
move that one.
13. Uh, 8 to 7 twice. 5 to 4, 6 to 4. I think that's right. 2, 3. No, I can't. That's 4, right?
That's 4 of them.
Okay. Back it up.
Okay.
Definitely 8 to 7 twice. 9 to 8. Or 8 to 7 and 9 to 8.
Like this.
Yeah, I could be. I don't feel good about that. I do feel good for having a point made on the .7 at the, what is that called? The anchor, not the anchor point, but what is that called on the outside?
The bar point?
The bar point. I do
Yeah.
feel good about that, but I feel like maybe I could be doing something else besides 9 to 8. Like maybe making a third point in my home board. I'm not sure. I don't see how that's possible though. I'm just not seeing it.
You mean like this?
Yeah, exactly like that.
So that's 3 of them. And then where would you play the fourth one?
Okay. 8 to 7, since there's nothing, I don't have to worry about being hit.
Yeah. I think this is a good play. And the way I kind of think about these is sometimes I go in a stepwise fashion. As we said, the doubles are a little bit more difficult.
Hmm?
First, try to narrow things down. Of course, you can't move this one, and you can't move this one, these checkers. So that narrows it down to something on our side. And of course, we can't move this one. So it's going to be something here. Okay? So that's already narrowed down. The next thing I think about is what is the most likely thing that's going to happen in the next roll or two?
I
Well, what is
possibly hit,
white going to do next?
probably try to close me in or hit me and keep me out.
Yeah, hit you with like a 3-1 or a double one or a double three or a double four. But then with other numbers like maybe 5-4 or 4-3 or 3-2, you can use these to safety or maybe like safety this blot with a 1 or a 6, something
Right.
like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in that scenario, it's going to be a race, right? Because white's going to try to bring things home and we're going to try to bring things home. The first scenario would be an attack. So there may be a hitting exchange, right? So in the event of a hitting exchange, as I said earlier, it's useful to have a stronger board. So doing this actually does that, so it helps in that sense. Um,
Right.
the other thing about racing is when you're trying to race, let's say you had this safety all the way here, and this one's over here, and we're just kind of bringing things home. Ideally, you want to bring checkers to the 6, 5, and 4 points. And before you bear in all of your points, you want to maximize the potential for doing that. When you have checkers that are deep in your outer board, meaning on the 7 point or the bar point and the 8 point, that's rather deep and it becomes inefficient because what happens is if you have many checkers here and you start rolling large numbers like sixes and fives, they end up going deep into the board, and that makes your bear off more inefficient. It slows you down. So it's not a great place. I know it produces a prime here, but there's nothing really to prime, right? At least not yet. But if you do get into a hitting exchange, this would be good. And then after that, moving this 8 to 7 gives many more numbers to either make the 3 point or make the 7 or 8 point.
So
So,
with this way, you have more options.
yes, yes, I agree.
Okay.
Okay, you like it?
Yes.
All right, very good. Double five. Okay, so that was another option. So now we're behind 10 in the race.
Huh.
Okay?
Wow.
3, 2.
Well, I was told, Julius Hyde took a lot of lessons from him too. He
He's
told me that if you're behind in the race and you have checkers in the opponent's home board, stay there because it's a high chance that you might be able to hit. If you're in their home board and they start bearing off and they get an unlucky roll and have one in front of you, you could possibly hit them if you roll the right numbers. But I
right.
don't know if I'm thinking about getting out of there or 13 to 8. That'd be my 5.
Yeah. So that's actually very good. Julius is a very good teacher.
Mhm.
When you are behind in the race, you don't want to race. So you do want to increase the contact.
Okay.
However, you have to look at the entire position because if you leave this checker here, it's only a single checker. So it can be hit. So like a 3-1 would hit and cover. Double one would do the same.
Yeah.
There are a lot of rolls, even like double three, double four. There are rolls that can just really, really powerful.
Hmm.
So, and the other thing is, if you're behind in the race, yes, you want to keep contact, but how far behind in the race are you? If you're very far behind, you want maximum contact. If you're not all that far behind, you may want contact, but maybe not so much contact.
Right.
And then you want to think about like how many numbers are going to hit you. So let's say you go here. Okay, we're behind 5 in the race. That is behind. It's not huge, but they're only do you know how many numbers will hit you here?
No, not right offhand. I don't.
Okay, so the way you calculate it is you can be hit with any three. Okay?
Well, I see that, but I thought you were talking like 2-1 or something like that.
Right. So any 3 plus 2, 1, right? So
Okay.
there are 11 threes. Are you familiar with that calculation?
1, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 5, 3, and so on and so forth.
And 6 3. So that's yeah, that's 11 numbers because like 6 3 counts twice because you can have 6 3 and 3 6.
Okay.
5 3 counts twice, 4 3 counts twice,
Mhm.
3 3 only counts once.
Right.
But 3 2 and 3 1 count twice. So that totals 11 numbers.
Okay.
Okay, and then you add the 2 1, which is two more numbers because you can roll a 2 1 or a 1 2. So that's a total of 13 numbers.
Okay.
Well, how many numbers can you be hit with here? There's a lot more than that. Ones and threes is it's a lot, and then there's also the eights.
17.
Well, there's 20 plus 6 2 and double 4 and
Uh,
double 2, so that's 24.
okay.
That's more. You don't really have to worry about that, but basically you're leaving a lot here. I think you know if you want to, the other thing is there is a concept that Bill Roberti wrote about called non-commitment. So try to make a play that leaves multiple game plan options open. So there are four primary game plans to win in backgammon. Number one is the race, and we've been discussing that. You just bring things home. And
Right.
number two is priming, and we are starting to form a prime. So if we do hit a checker, we can prime, but not quite yet. The third is attacking or blitzing. So white actually has that opportunity because white can attack. And the fourth is a defensive strategy, like a holding game, retaining contact. If you can make a play that leaves multiple options open for yourself and
Mhm.
few for the opponent, that's actually good because, like, for example, here, this one, if we're missed, we have at least decent racing chances.
Right.
Here, if we're missed, we're still going to need, if we want to race, we're still going to need something, at least a seven or higher, or nine or higher to get out. The other thing for the race is, remember how we said we want the builders here? This
Yeah.
this type of play would be good because it brings two there and it
Mhm.
kind of diversifies things. So
Okay.
I think there are a lot of reasonable options. We'll certainly look at the analysis, and this is a good opportunity to learn. But that was a pretty good discussion. So what would you like to do?
I like that last statement you made to bring up some builders over on the 5 and 6. That'll give me a little more diversity.
Okay,
I like that.
okay. So we'll
And
see,
it,
we'll do this.
okay.
Okay, 6-3.
Thank you, Jesus. That's what I always say when I'm not hit. Okay. Thank you, Jesus.
Okay, 4-3. So what are the options here?
My, my first mind is to run and run to that 13.
Okay.
Or 8-3, 6-3. Is that right? No, I'm sorry.
You could go 8-4, 6-3, or you could go 8-4 like that, or you can bring one all the way.
Mhm.
So out of the non-running options, which
I
one like the
yeah,
best?
I have a feeling if I stick around in the my backboard too long, my next turn I could possibly be hit.
Yeah.
But then I need to build up a little bit more to make more of a prime on my next turn as well in my home board.
So when you have like a couple of different options that you're looking at, let's say we're looking at this play, and then the other one would be maybe bring something in like this.
Right.
Okay, so let's look at the two options and think about what are the pros and cons of each. So let's see. You play like this. What are the
Mhm.
pros? Of course, you don't leave a blot, right?
Right.
And it gives you good chances if you roll like big doubles or something like that, or big numbers to race. The con is you're down by 7 pips in the race, but you're not leaving a blot here to possibly be hit.
Mhm.
That's one of the cons of playing here. This one brings in an extra checker. It does maintain the contact, but you can be attacked. And here, white has 13 checkers in the zone. So the more checkers in the zone, the more offensive capability there is to carry out a successful blitz. So this leaves the opportunity to be hit or closed out, like a 3-1 would close that, or double three, or double one, or double four, and even rolls like 3-2 or 2-1. They're pick and pass numbers. White is going to have a number of good rolls, and that excludes the other numbers that are really good for the race, such as double six and double five.
Mhm.
Yeah, so those are the cons of that one.
Okay. And the pros of moving 13 all the way to 6.
The pros is basically you're retaining a little bit of contact here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And what are the cons of that
you
at
could
this
be hit
point?
like we discussed.
Yeah. All right, let's get out of there.
Let's get out of there. Okay, we'll see. Okay, now redouble.
Let's see. Okay, let me count.
The pip count is here, so it's 104 to 111.
Okay. Well, I'm just counting crossovers.
Oh, the crossovers. Okay, so there are four of these to get in, and then there are going to be six more to cross. So that's 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so white has two, and then
That's
we'll have seven more, nine. Okay, so 10 versus nine.
nine.
The
It's
other things,
tight. It's tight, but I mean, I think I should pass because I have too many crossovers versus uh his crossovers right here, his double count crossovers. He has less than what I do.
that's something to consider. I mean, of course, you always want to consider the race,
Okay.
the baseline pip count. And here it's 104 to 111. So,
Right.
in general, there's the 8, 9, 12 rule. Are you familiar with that?
Nope.
So let's say you're playing a money game and your pip count is 100 and the opponent's is 108. And it's basically a race with minimal or no contact. 8 is 8% of 100. So that's kind of the minimum threshold you want to double. If you own the cube, you will need to be a little bit more conservative. So you need 9% or 9 pips. So 100 to 109 to double. And in terms of the take decision, you can take up to 12%. So 12 pips at a baseline of 100. So here the baseline is 104, right? And sometimes it's hard to calculate 8%, 9%, and 12%, but it's pretty easy to calculate 10%. And that's somewhere in the middle, right? So 10% of 104 is 10.4, right? We're not behind 10.4,
Okay.
right? So that's good in our favor. Now at this score for a redouble, you have to be a little bit more cautious. That's more of like match play strategy. Uh, the other thing is, then you were talking about crossovers. So we're down one crossover. That's good. That's good to note. And then you also want to see the distribution of checkers. See, white has this gap on the 5 point. That's going to be inefficient because you're going to want to have a lot of checkers on your 5 and your 6 point. So it's going to be hard to do that, especially with this big stack of checkers on the 8 point. If white's going to have to bring in deep into the outer board, now these checkers are going to have to be played deep with sixes, and it's going to be harder to fill in that gap for an ultimately an efficient bear off. So that's going to kind of slow things down too. So there's a lot to consider. There's a lot to consider, but the final decision is always up to you. And we can pass if you want, or we can take if you want.
Let's take it.
All right, let's take it. So this will be for the match. Okay, so 2-1. Now it's just a race.
Okay.
4-1.
13, 13 to 8.
Yeah. Okay. 3-2. Bring him in. 5-3.
8 to either 8 to 3 and then 6 to 3 or 13-5, 13-10. Shouldn't I always want to make at least one, bring over one pip into my home board on a turn like this in a race?
You do. You want to bring in checkers into the home board, and ideally, you want to have a right triangle structure here with the most checkers on the 6 point, then the 5 point, then the 4 point, and
Right.
so forth. You don't need to make interboard points. You're not really priming anybody. You're not going to have a hitting exchange.
Okay.
You want to try to avoid the deep points. The other thing you want to do is maximize your flexibility to have kind of like checkers spread out in the outfield to be able to come in efficiently with multiple different numbers. So I think um, There are a few reasonable candidates. 13-5 is reasonable. You bring one in and you bring it to the 5 point. You'd like to have one on the 6 point, but not a big deal. Alternatively, you could bring this in to the 3 point, which is a little bit deep, but then you can bring the 13 to the 10, and this spreads out the checkers. And then what else? You could play like this and here, but that leaves three over here. You can also play like this, which actually does
Trying.
clear that structure nicely. I don't think there's going to be a big difference between many of these plays.
Okay. So 13, let's see, 13 to, what is that, 8? I'm sorry, 8 to 5.
8-5. Okay. 3-2. Okay, so now there's no more contact.
Nope.
5-3.
Bring them all down.
Okay. See how white's preparing that structure?
Yeah.
Okay, 5-2.
Should I start clearing from the rear?
In general, when you're bearing in against an anchor or against contact, you usually want to clear from the rear. Here, that's not the case. What we want to do is just create as an efficient bear-off structure as possible. So maximizing checkers on the highest points. In that case, you really want another checker on the 6 point to match the height of the 5 point. You can do that with the 2, right? Then it's a matter of the 5, and I think any of them are reasonable.
8 to 3.
Yeah, I
Better
think
get at least 2 checkers on my home board, and I won't. It's only 3 left to clear now.
right. And look, we're ahead by 1 pip after the roll.
Okay, not bad.
5-1, okay. Now 6-3.
8 to 2. 9 to 6.
Yeah. So that's good. Another option would be like this. This makes that right triangle a little bit better.
Okay.
I don't think it's a big deal, but the 9-6 I agree with. And we can try 8-2 to spread things out, or we can try 10-4. The other benefit of this play is you kind of have to look one roll in the future. So
Okay.
where's our gap? It's on the 2 point, right? So if we roll something with a 2, we cannot bear off with the 2
All right.
because there's a gap. However, the 2 brings in perfectly here. So if you leave this one here, now even 2-1 will bear off, or any roll will start bearing off. Whereas if you do here, if you do this, now 2-1 and 3-1 will not bear off a checker.
Okay.
These are minor details. I don't think it's something you really need to worry about. Okay, 5-4.
Obviously 8 to 2.
And then you want to bear one off?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is going to be straightforward, just bearing them off. Double 1. So 1 here, 2 and 3, right?
And bring one down from 4-3, kind of spread them out a little bit. Or do you think I should bring it down from 6 to 5?
So the advantage of it's both are very reasonable. The advantage of this play is it works well when you roll a double 5 next because it bears off 4 checkers. But if you roll a 3, you don't bear one off. Here, this one, you only bear off 3 checkers with double 5, but now with the 3s are good.
Right.
I think they're both going to be very close, but I think this is better. The other thing is, how likely is it going to be that you're going to need the double 5s? Well, right now, both players have 5 checkers off. It's not as urgent. I think this one's reasonable. I think they're probably close, but I think this is fine. All right, 5-3, just 2 off.
And he's got his more, you got yours more spread out.
Yeah. So the 6 is forced, and the 3. Do you want to play 6 to 3? Spread them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best you can do. Okay. Now 3-2. So
Five to
th-
5 to 2, and then bear off.
5. Okay, yeah. All right, we're gonna need something good. 6-1.
Oh,
I think we're in trouble no matter what. This,
yeah, 3 to 2.
I would maybe play 4-3. This gives a nice double
Wait
three.
a minute. Go back to the original before you move.
Yeah.
So obviously 6 is going to bear off, and then you said 4 to 3.
What happens is you want to see like how your doubles are going to play next. So here, if you roll double three, you bear off 3 checkers and remain with 2. If you play this, this is better if you roll double fives, for example. How does double 4 play? Not so good. So you want to kind of maximize the doubles that work for you.
Okay.
Um, I think no matter how you play it, double 6 will be good. If you play it like this, double 5 will be good. Will double 4 be good? Not really. Double 3, not really. But if you play like this, now it's really double 6 and double 3.
Okay.
I don't think it matters. I think this might be a touch better. It's not going to make a big difference. Okay, now we'll go through and analyze all the moves. Um, you see the board again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this was the first play, the 5-2.
Right.
Yeah, in general, with an opening 5-2, it's slightly better to split the back checkers.
Okay.
Um, because you're doing things on both sides of the board. Remember how we said in the opening position, the biggest liabilities are the back checkers, and then the secondary liabilities are the stacks. So when you play this like this or like this, either way you play it, you're unstacking this, right? And then splitting the back checkers, resulting in this position, does a lot in terms of the back checkers because the advantages of splitting are that you can do something with the back checkers. You really want to escape the back checkers. That's the primary liability. So
That's
that's going to be,
funny. I'm sorry to cut you off. That's funny because that's what I normally do when I'm playing. I'll drop down to my 8 and split my back checkers.
yeah, so
I guess
good.
I'm just trying to be different.
Well, I mean, it's fine to play different when you're trailing in the match and you want to get aggressive, you can do that because that's going to win more gammons.
Okay.
The benefit of splitting in general is it helps you to escape a back checker easily, more easily. For example, if you have both back checkers here, the only way you can get to safety is with a 6-5.
Right.
After splitting here, the 6-5 works, but now 6-3 and 5-4 also work.
Mhm.
Um, so that's a lot more numbers. Additionally, it gives you a better chance of making an advanced anchor. So you can make an anchor with a 3-1, a 4-2, or a 6-4 here. Whereas here you'd have to roll a double, which is harder. So that's kind of just an opening roll. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
Um, so the double 3, that was good. I'm glad we went through that because there are a lot of options. The most reasonable options were the one we selected, and then the second one was this, hitting and making the 5 point and playing 11 to 8. But
Okay.
splitting the back checkers like we did at the end was a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah, so good. Then yeah, here this was a nice discussion because it was a small no double, but it was very close. So it's good to know. I'm going to copy this and paste it onto this other board. Okay. So now we can look at, for example, an unlimited game, a money game.
Yeah.
Here, let's see what it says here. I don't think it's quite as strong. Right. It's not as strong a position. It's a bigger error to double here. The reason for that is in a 3 point match, 0-0 to 3 or 3 away, 3 away, you want to be more aggressive when you double and you want to be more cautious. And if you're playing like a longer match, like maybe a 5 point match, You see, it's a bigger error and the equity is not as strong. So that's something good to learn about in terms of match play. When you're three away, or 0-0 to three, you want to double more aggressively and then take more cautiously. So then we rolled a 2-1. Look at that.
And you know what? I have been actually working on doubling earlier in the game. I when I first started back playing again last year, I was waiting till damn near all my checkers were in my home board and then double. Then I wonder why isn't anybody taking?
Yeah, yeah,
So now
yeah,
I'm working more like so of a mid game strategy to double, and I'm getting more people are taking now.
yeah, yeah. So this 2-1, it turns out that making the anchor was better here. That's interesting.
You mean making the anchor or splitting my checkers? Where you at?
So this was the original position.
Right.
The best play is this one, resulting in this position.
Isn't that what I tried to do the first time?
That is, and then I think I convinced you otherwise.
You
I convinced you to do this. I think I guess part of the disadvantage of this is the checkers are not spread and you have this stack here, so that's going to make it a little harder. I'll have to analyze this one a little bit further because that's a tough one to see.
All right.
So I'll look at that a little bit later. Okay, and the 4-1 here was so you did look at hitting, but the anchoring play was much better, like we discussed.
Okay.
And then the 5-1, yeah, as we discussed, you just basically have to hit and come down.
That was the better move?
That was the play. What was the one I had mentioned coming out and unstacking? What did I say?
Well, on this one, I actually did say hit
Yeah.
and move the 8 to the 7. I think that's what I said.
Hit and then we unstacked 6-5.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So nice play. And then the 5-2. Ah, there was another option we didn't consider. I feel like the most common errors people make is by not considering the best play. It turns out this was actually a blunder. Better was to just make the 4-point here.
Really?
In this position, because now you have a 3-point board and you can only be hit with 6-1 or 5-2.
Isn't this move one of the moves that I considered, or was the
I think we considered this one. We considered this one, right? 5-2.
Yeah, because I did.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. So yeah, you have to consider all the options. Um, so with this double one, there are many reasonable options with the double. Look at that. It likes,
It's favoring which one? 9-7, 8-7?
actually, it turns out 5-1 all the way, just making that point like that.
Ah, I thought about that, but then I was like, okay, then I'll just have two checkers out of play. But
It is true
making
that
the point is good too.
right. It's true that the checkers are out of play, but it does strengthen your board in the event of a possible hitting exchange,
Right.
which may happen or may not happen. It's not good for the race. That's why I didn't like it. This one's close. So what I would say is if you're playing with on XG, focus on the areas that are red, that are more blunders. If they're green, don't focus on those quite as much.
Okay.
Okay, because those are the big errors. You want to start by cleaning up your big errors. Okay, the 3-2, this one, there were many reasonable options.
Wow. Oh God.
Look how close all of them were. When they're all very close like this, I want to make a big deal of it.
That's about 12, 13 of them, isn't it?
There are many rolls like yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot that you can do.
Yeah. Minus the 20 and 13, of course.
And 20-15, let's see where that one was. Let's still analyze. 20-15. It was a 37 millipoint error.
Which one, the 20 to 15?
20 to 15, that's right.
Hmm.
This one.
Yeah,
But,
because I said I wanted to get out of there. And you was like, it's a strong possibility that I could be hit and
oh,
I
I
should
think that
make
was
contact.
more of a situation here on the next roll when the White had the 3-point board,
Mhm.
and not a blot in the board. Whereas here it's a 2-point board and there's a blot in the board, it's a little bit safer. But here it's a little bit more dangerous, and it turns out the running play here was correct.
Okay. So
Whereas
either,
staying back was correct here.
okay.
Do you see that?
Yeah, you're kind of moving a little bit fast, but I'm trying to keep up. So
Okay,
yeah.
so we'll go slower. This was the first position where you had the opportunity to come out with 20 to 15, like this, resulting in this position.
Of course.
It does break, well, it does partially escape, but you still leave a shot.
Hmm.
And secondly, white only has a 2-point board and a blot in the board, so it's not as dangerous to be hit.
Because
Um,
of that spot.
right. Now, in this position, first of all, you have a 4-3 to play, which gets to complete safety there,
Right.
resulting in this position, so there are no shots. Additionally, it's a 3-point board, so it's more dangerous, and there's no blot in the board.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was
That's
a
why
good,
that's why I wanted to run to
yeah,
that.
so you made the right choice.
Okay.
Are you referring to the previous one? You wanted to run here? No, you didn't want to run here.
No, not there. I don't think so.
Yeah, here where you wanted to run.
Right.
So good. Then there was the redouble decision.
Right. Yeah, I
And it
remember.
turns out it was a pretty comfortable take. So what we can do is like look at it over here, and
Mhm.
here we can modify the position and say we were down more in the race. See what happens. Like put this checker over here. So now we're down 12 in the race. Now
Okay.
it's a pass. You see?
Mm.
And then we can bring it to here. Now we're down 10 in the race.
Mhm.
Now it's a small take.
Okay.
So in the original position, it was like this, and it was very close. So that racing difference is very important in race positions.
Okay. Yeah, and you know what? I have a long way to go before I can really start understanding Cuba's equity and all those numbers over there.
Yeah, yeah. So lesson for another session.
Okay.
All right. Okay, then there was the 4-1. And this one, let me go to the initial. It didn't really matter. We were just kind of trying to bring things home. And I
Right.
think there's not too much to kind of learn or study here. In terms of these, we were just trying to bear in.
Mhm.
There weren't big decisions here. And the 6-5 and the 4-3. And here we were just bearing things off.
Okay.
Uh, and that was the end of the match. So I think that was good. I think I'll go ahead and analyze the session a little bit more
Okay.
in further depth, and then I'll send you the file.
Okay.
Um, and so I think that was good. There was a lot of interesting decisions and a lot of opportunities to learn. How did you feel? Did you have fun? That's the most important thing.
I did. I did. At first I was nervous, but you helped open my eyes to a lot of different positions and possibilities and cons and pros, or pros and cons, if you will, to certain moves that I should or shouldn't be making.
Yeah, I think some of one time when I was first playing competitive backgammon with the doubling cube, when I grew up, I didn't use the doubling cube. So I learned that about 20, 25 years ago. Anyway, one thing that one person told me, he says, whenever you're making a decision, look at the entire board.
Right.
And that is one piece of advice that, encompasses every single position because you really have to look at the entire board. You saw when we made some changes, you move one checker just a little bit, it made a big difference. So you have to look at everything. And I think in that sense, backgammon is a good analogy for life. anytime you're making some sort of a decision, whether it's like a financial decision or whatever, you have to look at the risks, the rewards, the pros and cons, and take everything into consideration. And when you do that, I feel like studying backgammon has helped me make better financial decisions, business decisions, all sorts of decisions. So not only is it enjoyable, but it's also
It's a life,
educational.
yeah, it's a life game.
Yeah, it is. It is. And one of the things I tell people is if you're not sure about a position, so take the position on XG and then change it a little bit. Like you saw how we moved the checker 1 pip here and there, see what happens. You can learn a lot from that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It's really a pleasure to have my first female guest. I'm trying to get more women into the game, so I'm
I
happy
hope
to
so.
have you.
Good luck
Yeah,
with it.
yeah, I'm happy to have you again. One of the things we do is sometimes after a guest has been on, you can bring in a doubles partner and we can play doubles or something like that. That's always fun. Very good. Do you have any final remarks before we conclude the video?
Well, no, not really. I'm a post analyzer, so most of my questions won't come until after we close out the session, and then I can sit back and think about it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, you're always welcome to email me or contact me.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's been such a pleasure to have you. We'll go ahead and conclude. Thank you to the viewers for joining me. I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, what you'd like to see in future videos, so I can work on that. Again, my book, Backgammon Backgame Strategies, is available. There's a link in the description to where you can get it. And if you're interested in lessons, please contact me via email. My email address is in the description. I look forward to seeing everyone in future videos. And until then, keep rolling your dice.